Here comes the open. So the low pre-market on SPY is our key first level, 291. We've got some short-term resistance, 294.63 stands out to me first thing. And on any morning bounce, if we see bulls buy this dip, remind yourself we're just looking for hourly lower highs. So definitely a little bounce right before the bell rings. We'll see if the bulls can hold it. 291 will be a potential bottom fishing play if we start with a bit of weakness first thing. But again, very high risk, high reward first thing. Make sure your brokers are working. Make sure your orders are going through or cancel them. So it is the financial sector, no surprise there, weaker than the tech sector. The biotech sector, out of the sectors that we cover, is holding up better than everybody else, both yesterday and today. As far as individual names, Netflix is holding up the best in the tech sector. Facebook is the weakest, and Apple and Google just as weak. So we're starting the morning with a bounce. We know we need a 5-minute trend change on SPY to believe any follow through. So wherever we bounce from here, we have to form a 5-minute higher low once we top out and hold 291 and then see continuation. Otherwise, it's just a short-term little bounce. APHA 325 support being tested. It just broke it by a penny or 2 pennies. So keeping an eye on that. Still a potential little double bottom there, but that pretty much has to be the low of the day if that support is going to get any follow through. And if we head back down to a new low of the day on SPY, it will be all about 291. Checking back in on gold to see how it's recovered from its reaction. Very nice recovery from the reaction to the jobs numbers. And gold's trying to give us a 15-minute cup and handle. So new high of the day, a little bit more bounce follow through. 2 little levels from pre-market on SPY to be watching. 293.60 just broke. 294.63 is pretty much the high of the reaction to the jobs numbers. So that is the most important resistance from here. And at this point, if not in on the bounce first thing, bears are watching for hourly lower highs. And again, we will still need a 5-minute trend change in SPY as well. So that's another potential play. If I miss this bounce and I do want to be looking bullish, waiting until we top out and then watching to see what the 5-minute higher low looks like, because again, I will have a clear support level to play off of on that 5-minute higher low. QQQ with a very strong start. Bit of a falling wedge on the 5-minute heading into the open. So big bounce underway. We zoom out and we look for an hourly lower high. On QQQ, I consider anything under 212.87 as an hourly lower high. That's still multiple percent away. So it's a great bounce. We're not in free fall. We're not in bull panic mode. But again, it's going to take a ton of work for these bulls to change hourly trends today. So we're approaching our resistance on SPY, 294.63. We just got within 14 cents. And a rejection from that resistance level. We'll see how the bulls respond. but that is our clear short-term resistance. Very quick $1.20 plus pullback from that level. We'll see if the SPY bulls give it another test here. And again, if you're trading in the first 15 minutes, you probably want to be watching the 1 minute time frame with this kind of volatility. 1 to 2 minute time frame. Obviously making note of the longer term levels, but as far as watching this price action, I'm watching the 1 minute uptrend on SPY, and I can say when the 1 minute uptrend is lost, we'll likely see some 5 minute consolidation begin. SPY trying for another 294.63 resistance test. We'll see if bears are able to reject the price again. Right now, short-term support is 292.96 using the 1 minute time frame, as we are testing the high of the day, but we just rejected by 7 cents on the initial test. So there is a little top fish play off of that 294.63 level, but for me personally, I'm just waiting. Ideally, what I would like to see, if I want the most confident setup, I want to see a 5 minute trend change for the SPY bulls, get some nice follow through, looking for the hourly lower high, and then a loss of that 5 minute uptrend later this morning or midday would be my bearish entry signal, looking for the hourly lower high to be set. In an ideal world, that's the most comfortable trade that I see for myself today. Still testing this high. So a short-term resistance battle, first thing, testing the high pre-market. Or actually, it's not the high pre-market, it's the high of the bounce reaction or bull reaction to the jobs numbers. So bulls want a bit more follow-through, but it's looking like a break. And all that does is increase the odds for a 5 minute high or low once we do top out. Bulls want as much space as possible. And we are currently over 1% above the low of pre-market, which will be the level that must form a 5 minute high or low compared to. Certainly not much follow through. We only broke resistance by 10 cents. Still watching the 1 minute uptrend on SPY. Certainly some bounce in the airliners. Still watching the hourly lower highs there as well. INO with a huge start. Definitely using short-term time frames there. SPCE. So that level to hold ideally was 22.44, and we held it by a penny. So technically the hourly uptrend is still intact, but I would consider anything under 24.34 as just an hourly lower high. And all individual names on this current bounce want to see the result of this bounce as a 5-minute trend change for us to say, okay, this is a clear hourly bounce. We're getting some follow through now. Because if it's only a little 10-minute bounce once the bell rings, that's not really convincing. And that could lead to a lot of hourly bear flags. So that is now the most important thing that I'm focusing on for the next 20, 30 minutes. Can SPY bulls change the 5-minute trend? And we're still a bit toppy around that level. So far our top's 294.49, 294.63 pre-market, and we just hit a new high of the day, 294.74. So a bit of a short-term line in the sand for the bears to try and defend. So make note of who's dropped to lower lows. Gold giving back. So gold is not a 15-minute cup and handle. It's a 15-minute equilibrium to be watching on gold. Looking for a 15-minute higher low this morning. We've got XLF dropping to daily lower lows in a big way. We've got Facebook doing it. Google did it. Not by much on Google, but it did break support. SPY bulls are going to attempt 292.96. I'm going to be watching for a 1-minute head and shoulders if we hold that support. If it is a 1-minute head and shoulders, then 5-minute consolidation will be underway if it breaks. And the way that I've been trading the last few days with larger capital and just doing scalps on these leveraged ETFs, I would be using the 1-minute chart and trading off of these support and resistance levels. So if we were to drop down to the mid to low 293s, I would be making a play based off of 292.96 support. That's just the way that I've been trading the last few days, and it's been working pretty well. But obviously that requires a lot more speed and experience to use these short time frames. It's just the same patterns we use on all these other time frames. They just happen a lot faster. So PTON dumping down. It's all about 24.52 from here. Clear bear break. We had some nice support in the upper 25s that is now out the window. So it's all about 24.52 from here. So watching to see if SPY is giving us a 1-minute right shoulder. And again, if you're looking at the SPY hourly time frame, you could care less what the 1-minute chart is doing. If you're looking at the daily or the hourly, these short-term time frames mean nothing to you. And a very big pullback on miners from the start. So APT key support is approaching. Hard to see it on Fidelity here, but that hourly support 1580 is broken. 1551 is the next support. We dropped and broke that level by a penny. Decent little bounce in the MJ sector, similar to SPY. So APHA broke its key support by 2 pennies, but then did see a nice 3% bounce. So So SPY is either going to see a new high of the day and keep the 1 minute uptrend intact, or we're going to fail here and form a 1 minute right shoulder. Glad to hear that, Mace. So 293.45 is the level that is being tested to try and confirm the 1 minute head and shoulders. Bulls playing defense. We broke it by a couple pennies, but no follow through at this point. If we do get that follow through, the 5 minute consolidation clearly underway. So it ended up playing out nice and well. But again, I wasn't even trading it, as I don't feel like dealing with the extreme fast first 15 minutes. But the two plays, we're looking for a higher low off the 1 minute support, or top fishing the high of the day, looking for the right shoulder. So now we zoom out and we look for a 5 minute higher low to form compared to 291. So again, best case scenario for me, looking for clarity. 5 minute trend change for the bulls, new high of the day. Zoom out, look for an hourly lower high, and watch for a loss of the 5 minute uptrend to make a bearish entry and top fish the high of the day at that point. Things could change over the next couple hours depending on how the setup unfolds, but just a rough scaffolding of a trade game plan developing. The VIX is testing its high, 49.50. We got up to 48.90. But it's still in a clear hourly uptrend. So what's a potential indication? Our 5 minute higher low has been set on SPY. We need to see a 1 minute trend change back to the bulls as a potential early indication. Again, I do not use the 1 minute time frame often, but this is not an often scenario. SVXY is shorting the VIX. It's, forget if it's leveraged or not. It might be 2 times leveraged. So in the end, we have rejected from our resistance. Yes, we broke it by 11 cents, but that's not convincing. We confirmed a 1 minute head and shoulders to lead to this fairly significant pullback from the high of the day. The low of the day is less important to me than 291 right now. We can still break the low of the day and form a 5 minute higher low compared to 291. Just watching this little 1 minute downtrend while 5 minute consolidation is underway. Low of the day test on Tesla. Looks like everything on my screen is frozen aside from SPY, which does not usually happen. Usually it's everything or nothing. So that's a bit odd. So back to the low of the day, but we care about 291. And if this pullback starts to get a little bit more follow through, we could start the morning with a 5-minute equilibrium. So if we drop down from here and break 292, I'm going to bottom fish 291 because the 1 minute and 2 minute time frame will be extended enough that I like that risk to reward. If we start to bounce and get back over 293, that trade goes out the window, and I patiently wait. GTII, it's a potential daily bear flag. Support is 843, so we are in a 4-hour uptrend, but that 4-hour higher low and higher high did not see any follow through. So when we get a trend change with no follow through, we zoom out and look for the potential of a flag. So it's likely today will be a daily inside bar, and if that inside bar breaks bearish on Monday, the odds of a potential bear flag increase a bit. Last hourly lower high on SPY, for me, I'm using the high of after hours. I'm calling anything under 303.96 as that lower high. So SPY fading down that 1 minute head and shoulders with beautiful follow through at this point. So I'm making an initial entry into SPXL, and I'm using 291 on SPY as my stop, and I'm just looking for a bit of a bounce to look for even just a 2-minute lower high. Maybe even just a 1 minute lower high. This is definitely a short-term trade attempt. So here comes 291 support. If 291 breaks on SPY, the next level we're looking at is the low of 285.54. Low of the dump from last week. So I can approach this two ways. I can sell looking for this bounce. I can move up a stop and say, okay, if 291.54, the current low, if that breaks, we're very likely to break 291 as well. So I can lower my risk on the trade by using the current bottom of this bounce attempt. Looking at the 2-minute time frame, I'd have a target of the upper 292s. I'll get back to the chat room in just a second. And if I wanted really low risk, I could do a break-even stop, but risk is still low either way, so I'm not going to move it to break-even. So SPY bulls now have to change the 1-minute trend to try and see this 5-minute higher low form. And I will be using 291.50. If we break that low, I will likely exit. Because if we can't change the 1-minute trend on this current bounce attempt, odds of 291 breaking will increase a good bit. Bulls need to get over 292.78 to see the 5-minute bounce underway. So SPY trying to get over 292.78 for the 5-minute higher low to be set. Nice follow through. I'm going to exit half of my position. And now I can put my second half of my position under the low of the day with zero risk, and I will hold it for the entirety of this tightening 5-minute range to break, and if it breaks bullish, then I have a solid win. So just positioning myself now for no risk, all reward. So 5-minute tightening range as we patiently wait for that to break. The extended nature on the 1 minute time frame on SPY had a lot to do with my decision to make that entry. I always want to see a waterfall headed to support. And that's what we got. GNMK. 5 minute bear flag potential after an all-out dump. Daily time frame broke the high of yesterday by 7 pennies and then dumped, breaking all short-term support. So once we change the 5 minute trend to get an actual bounce going, we'll just be looking for an hourly lower high. We're just looking for a 5 minute lower high on any bounces. So bulls definitely losing a lot of the short-term momentum. Next support is really just 5 psychological. ZM looking for a bounce. Anything under the high of the day is a 5 minute lower high, but creating some decent space for a 5 minute higher low to try and form once the bounce tops out. Hourly broke that support that was ideal, 122.22. So again, odds of a daily inside bar increase a good bit with that support break this morning. Win on the daily. Definitely a gap down for buying, but again, like most names, we're just looking for hourly lower highs. So an after hours level to go off of is 96.31, and saying anything under 96.31 is an hourly lower high. It is a good sign that we changed the 5 minute trend just now, which is what SPY bulls are hoping for some bounce follow through. So hourly downtrend is now the most clear time frame. INO. 5 minute short-term support is 1187. If we break that level, we lose the 5 minute uptrend. And we then zoom out for the potential of hourly consolidation. So it's likely that INO is going to give us a 2 minute equilibrium here, which it already is. Bulls have to hold 1187 support here. And resistance just formed at 1265. SPY is not forming a higher low on the daily until we change the hourly trend, and we're nowhere near changing the hourly trend because we know we're just looking for an hourly lower high on any bounce. So bulls are going to have to control the entirety of today if we're going to get a confident daily higher low, which means we need to bounce through the morning to 296, very rough numbers, but just estimating, pull back for an hourly higher low midday, holding 291, and then a new high of the day into the close and a confirmed hourly trend change. So that pretty much means the bulls need to control the morning, they need to see healthy hourly consolidation midday, and they need to control the close if we're going to start saying our daily higher low is looking like it's set on SPY. So that's a lot of check boxes that the bulls are going to have to mark off. It's possible, but we need control all day, and I'm trying to leave myself with half of my position on my entry on SPXL there, just in case this hourly bounce does get follow through. All about the high of the day, 294.74. And NVC is testing the high of pre-market. So 1275 is a double top to the penny right now. That's our clear hourly lower high being tested. And plenty of space for bulls to give us a 5 minute higher low if we reject here, keeping an eye out for the potential of a 5 minute volume climax rejecting from that resistance. SPY was looking good towards the high of the day, but losing a bit of momentum now, so 5 minute equilibrium. Still in a 1 minute uptrend, so not a clear 5 minute lower high just yet. And again, I do not often use the 1 minute time frame for clues into the 5 minute time frame shaping up, but it's certainly gone very well this morning. both for the bears with the 1 minute head and shoulders, and then for the bulls with the waterfall towards support. Bulls testing the high of this bounce so far. So 1 minute uptrend remains intact with a higher high here. And now it's all about the high of the day. And bears can be looking to top fish the high of the day as well. So far, rejection by 30 some cents. Our 1 minute support on SPY is 293.30. If 293.30 breaks, then our 5 minute lower high is set. If I wanted to be actively trading my position right now, I could sell under the high of the day and try and reload on a 5 minute high or low, knowing that I might miss the bull move if they get impressive follow through. So many different ways to take it based on whether you want to be conservative or aggressive. If I was aggressive and held my whole position, I would certainly be up more on the morning right now. But most often I will be taking the conservative route. So looking at that 5 minute lower high is set, and we're now going to see, can the bulls hold a higher low compared to 291.54? There'll be another potential play off of that support level if we're going to continue tightening in a 5 minute equilibrium through the morning. And if I am going to make a play off that support, which I'm not, but if I were going to, I would want to see the 1 minute time frame just waterfall drop straight back down towards 292. So that's the second bear play using shorter term time frames this morning, just top fishing the high. And now we'll see if we get a second bull play off of support. And you could also just be patiently waiting for the break of the 5 minute tightening range. Congrats, Omar. SPY is not a 5 minute inverse head and shoulders because the head is not lower than the shoulder. And if you're looking at pre-market levels as well, it's the example where I said I don't like it because the right neckline is higher. Well, I see what you could be using. You could be ignoring that little 9 a.m. blip and looking at it all the way back towards 8 a.m. But if that were the case, we would have just broken bullish. I would just be only paying attention to the levels during regular trading for now in this tightening range. If I'm a SPY bull right now, I'm liking the fact that oil is dumping to lower lows and SPY is forming a 5 minute equilibrium, because that tells me when oil does get an hourly oversold bounce going today, which is extremely likely because the hourly RSI is 13, it's only going to help the SPY bulls. It's not dragging down SPY right now, and the bounce can only help the SPY bulls if and when it does get developing. So that adds a little bit of confidence for the setup on this 5 minute tightening range for me. Why would I prefer to see the 1 minute time frame waterfall down towards support? Because you get overextended. And when you get overextended, it's much easier to see a V-shaped bounce and some solid quick gains on support holding. It's the same thing. Imagine The analogy I give is bulls and bears being tired running. So bears are sprinting towards that support level as fast as they can. Imagine there's a wall between you and a bear, and that bear just sprinted a mile to get to you, or that bear just sprinted 50 yards to get to you. Its ability to get over that wall is going to be different. I want to see that bear sprinting for a mile, fail to get over the wall to get to me, which is a bounce off support. And when it's a downtrend and not a waterfall, that's the bear sprinting for 100 yards, taking a 10-minute break, sprinting for 100 yards. That gives it more energy as well. Support on PTON at this point. So low of the day, 24.36. 24.52 broke. 24.15. SPY bulls trying for their 5-minute high or low. Gonna need a new high of the day to confirm anything. So for all that pre-market volatility and all that weakness, just a good old-fashioned tightening range to start the morning. Google and Facebook are the two tech major names that have dropped to lower lows on their daily time frame. So the next level for Google is 1250. 1249 and 1250 is a little double low from October of 2019. And again, on any bounce, just looking for hourly lower highs. So when I say, with our technical analysis and our trading, we're not predictive, we are reactive. I had zero intention of a SPY bullish entry this morning up until the bell rang. No intention. I was waiting for the hourly lower high. Then you give me a clear 5-minute equilibrium setup. I know that pattern. I've seen it 10,000 times. I'm comfortable. I see a clear risk level. My trade is defined, and I am reacting to the setup that I am given. Certainly would not have predicted a 5-minute equilibrium out of the gate. So we're looking to react, not predict. $294.42, $294.74 resistances. And if we reject from $294.42 here, I like the 2-minute time frame better than the 5-minute right now for this current setup. More details. And my stop, I'm going to move my stop up to 292.61 on this current setup, just to ensure further profit worst case. Because again, if we break this 2-minute pattern bearish, the odds that we head back to the low of the day will increase fairly significantly. And that's just me continuing to choose the more conservative route. You notice my big deep breaths? That's obviously because I'm talking, but it's important to regulate your breathing. There are many situations in life where our mind gets too sidetracked and too focused on something and we stop breathing in a regular pattern. And then next thing you know, 20 minutes later, we have less oxygen going to our brain. We feel a little bit lightheaded. We feel a little bit off. Whenever I feel a little bit off, the first thing I constantly do is deep breaths. When playing SPXL, have I noticed it's best to enter at the beginning or end of the minute? No, I'm not paying that much attention to candle closes. So if SPY breaks the high of the day here, if we're going to get follow through, we must see QQQ and XLF break their high of the day. Right now, XLF is still a good bit off from its high of the day. So if we break these resistances, have to keep in mind that if XLF is not going to join the party, SPY bulls are not going to get a ton of follow through. Nice bounce on Tesla. Tesla's just an EQ as well. It's a wider range, maybe the 15-minute time frame best. I'd be watching for a 15-minute lower high compared to the high of the day unless we see some 5-minute increasing bull volume. So WTICOUSD is looking for a 2-minute trend change. So you could potentially bottom fish the low of the day looking for a 2-minute higher low to try and see some oversold bounce get going. Keeping that risk nice and low. And again, with where SPY is positioned, if oil gets an oversold bounce going right now, it's only going to help. Looks like SPY just rejected from its first resistance level. We broke it by, well, broke it by a decent amount, 18 cents, but didn't break the high of the day. So we broke one resistance level, not the second. Certainly gives the bulls a bit of a short-term advantage, but we also certainly need to see that follow through and that new high of the day here in the near term. The longer it takes for this new high of the day, the more confidence the bears are going to get, and the more the confidence is going to erode from the bulls. That's why on equilibriums, we always want to break multiple levels on the same move to eliminate that doubt of the break. Right now, by only breaking one level on SPY at the moment, there's a little bit of doubt. Checking back in on that gold 15-minute equilibrium that was setting up, and it's a beauty. Lower high, scouting a higher low, looking for a break sometime within the next 2 hours, which will have a significant impact on the miners short term. So if I were trading miner, that would absolutely have gold 15-minute time frame up on a screen. SPY bulls giving it another test. Want to see them get right up to 295 to eliminate any doubt. Just rejected by 6 pennies. Bears still trying to defend resistance. I got a whole bunch of private messages. I'll look at those when I can. Big old bouncing airliners. Let's see what the hourly trends look like. Certainly creating plenty of space for hourly higher lows when these bull moves top out. I'd also be keeping an eye out for a potential bearish entry. Looking for some consolidation on those names. Just looking for 5-minute higher lows, but extended in the short term. So SPY is still failing. That's a double top of the high of the day by 6 pennies. So at this point on the morning, pre-market, we topped out at 294.63. High of the day initially rejected from that level by 14 cents. High of the day then broke that resistance by 11 cents. And now here we are, a third rejection right in that same range. So I'm looking at 4 rejections, including pre-market, all within a 14-cent range. Bulls really need to clear this level for this hourly bounce to try and get some follow-through. And if we can't, then obviously the bears remain extremely comfortable. So again, I've moved my stop loss up. 292.61 is now the most important support level for me. So bears keeping some short-term control for now. Two-minute time frame, higher, low, anything above 292.61, which is the level I'm going off of. So XLF 2563 is the resistance level we're watching. Bulls with another attempt at resistance. And that is a very clear gold 15-minute equilibrium break. How about that follow through? In the end, big picture, we're just looking for a 4-hour higher low compared to 1633, but it is a clear double top as far as I'm concerned at that high. that reaction increases the odds for me that SPY is going to break the high of the day. And I'd like to see this oil bounce a bit, get a bit of follow through as well. Oil's in a 2-minute tightening range. Just held the low of the day by 5 pennies, testing 2-minute lower high resistance. SPY bulls at the high of the day. So gold bear break, oil oversold bounce attempt, and SPY 5-minute bull break attempt. Looks like we got a big, quick spike up over 205 or 295. So my trade game plan from here for the rest of my SPXL position is just walking up my stop with every 5-minute high or low. This is also exactly what I wanted to see while looking for an hourly lower high, because I can do the exact opposite, where when the 5-minute uptrend is lost from here, whenever that happens, I look to top fish the high of the day, looking for hourly consolidation to need to take place. And I can do that in multiple ways. I can wait for a loss of the 5-minute uptrend. If I see a head and shoulders set up, last week that happened twice to give us a clear 5-minute head and shoulders to indicate hourly lower highs and consolidation was underway. So I'll see if I get any trades that come to me, but at this point, just babysitting this SPXL. Nice to see this bounce follow through. Oil testing 2-minute resistance and gold pulling back. So gold gave us a little signal. I guess SPY broke the equilibrium first level first, but gold added the confidence that the new high of the day was likely. And a nice little follow through. So bounce underway. Hourly lower high is the most likely scenario for most individual names. And bears are potentially watching for hourly lower high entries if they're looking for weekend swings for headline exposure. Just be aware of what happened last week with the huge bull move into the end of the day. And the over the weekend bear play not panning out. Hope you had a good morning. And hope you have a good rest of your day. Jason will be live this afternoon. And I will be back in the chat room in 15 minutes to continue coverage.